Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Blown Speakers. This is episode 45. I'm Dave Henigman coming in from Yokohama, Japan, and joining me again is Soggy coming in from Chiba, Japan. Soggy, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, and we're going to continue talking about some landmark Japanese noise artists, right? Or in this case, a noise artist, right?
Landmark for sure. Absolutely. Landmark, benchmark, definitely a mark.
Okay, so, okay, we're talking about Kazumoto Endo and his 1990 album, While You Were Out. And
99.
What's that?
99.
I did. Okay. I wrote 99. What did I say?
1990. 99. Okay.
1999.
Just to be as anal as possible, everyone can see it.
No. That's good. 99.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, that was when you arrived in Japan, wasn't it, Mr. Soggy?
It is indeed. It is the year that I arrived in Japan. You are correct.
So, well, when did you first hear of this artist?
The artist or the album? The artist?
Yeah, let's start with the artist and work our way up to this album. Or did you first hear of him through this album?
No. Because before he was Kazumoto Endo, he had a pseudonym which was called Killer Bug. Yes, that's right. Killer Bug. Say that word to yourself many times. Say the name to yourself many times.
Killer
Bug. Now, is that a name or what? Killer Bug. I love that name. Killer Bug. And I'll explain to you why after. But okay. Yeah, so Killer Bug actually exploded onto the noise scene. I think from day one, he was already a superstar. So it was probably during the time that I was corresponding, I never did any handwritten letters because my handwriting is shite. So I always typed all my letters while people would reply with handwritten letters. But corresponding with people, noise people, who were a lot older than me for the most part. And yeah, so one of those persons, if you're a noise person, you would probably know Joe Roemer of Macro Nympha. Yeah. He probably would have been the person who introduced the name to me, but it could have been somewhere else or somehow else. I just don't have any recollection of where I first encountered the name Killer Bug. But what I do recall is the name was just batted about like this guy is some kind of super genius of noise. And I think even before I first heard it, the name was already big, which is weird because, okay, at that time we did have the internet. We're talking in the mid-90s. So there was the internet. And if you were, belonging to Usenet news groups or whatever, you could have access to that. So the name was being batted around the internet. I don't remember, actually. I actually don't remember. I have no recollection at all if I got this name through, direct mail correspondence with someone like Joe Roemer or whoever, or if it was actually online.
But you must have heard a couple Killer Bug albums to write him a letter, right?
Oh no, I didn't write Endo directly. I was writing, mostly Americans at that point. And at some point I started writing, the Japanese contingent and other contingents in Australia, wherever. But yeah, it would have started out mostly in the US and I guess in Canada. So yeah, so it's actually a difficult question. Where did I first hear the name killer bug? And the answer is I don't fucking know.
Hmm.
Excuse my French, but I don't fucking know. So it was recommended to me by someone writing, hey, have you heard of this guy, Killer Bug? Or it was possibly online because, like, even in the mid 90s, we had the Usenet. So it was actually possible to hear about noise, 1994, Usenet.
But Killer Bug, to be clear, that is it's still a solo project, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah, but like, for example, when they played live, it was him and a guy by the name of maybe it was T. Codetta, I believe. So yeah, and when Killer Bug performed live, they sounded a lot, at least based on a couple of tapes, a lot like Incapacitants, actually, just feedback and screeching, which was very different from the studio stuff, which was much more technical, if that can be a word. And yeah, I don't even want to say it was cut up at the Killer Bug stage. Probably it was, but it was highly dynamic, rapid paced, angular, intense, unstoppable, harsh noise, which, people at this point were familiar with even the word possibly harsh noise, or they were familiar with the ideas of Japanese noise. And Killer Bug, he belongs to the second or third generation of noise. So, noise was well established by the time Killer Bug came along. But he was still, back in his Killer Bug days, was killing everyone. Everyone's like, fuck, you got to hear Killer Bug, man. This guy's fucking amazing. And I know Joe Romer of Macronymph is like, fuck yeah, Killer Bug, man, he's the shit. And of course, Joe Romer, who had a label called Mother Savage Noise Productions, did finally release a Killer Bug album. Another American label called Bloodlust released another Killer Bug album. There were not a lot. Like, Killer Bug didn't release a lot of work. Besides that, like maybe some 7 inches, not a lot of material. A tape on a label called, anyway.
Okay. But it was well received stuff, right?
From the start, it was pure fire as far as basically people were concerned. So I mean, and maybe again, this was received information for a person who at this point had assumed that he knew something about noise and even harsh noise. And yet here were people saying, you got to check out this Killer Bug. He's killing it. He's just killing it. And, when I finally heard it, it was like, fuck yeah, this guy's killing it. They're right. They are correct. Not that I would doubt these people. But yeah, it was clearly a cut above, and assuming it was cut up, maybe 2 cuts above. The shit was awesome. And this, of course, was prior to the point at which he decided to discontinue the name Killer Bug and go on to his own name, Kazumoto Endo. And the shit just got better.
So using, well, while we're on that topic, using is, for a noise artist to use their own name on the album cover is rather rare.
Yeah,
correct?
That's true. There were not, are not, and possibly will continue not to be artists who choose to go with their own name. As far as I know, his birth name, I don't know. If it's Japan, probably. It's probably in the register, in the Endo register. Names are some serious shit in this country. Where was I? Yeah, so like he went with his own name, I guess. Who knows? Maybe he's got another name. It's all a secret. Yeah.
But it was kind of good timing for you, right? Because you got to Japan in the spring of '99, and then Or this
Yeah,
album
yeah.
later
Well,
in the year?
yeah, well, it's interesting what you say about the name itself. I mean, going with your own name, Kazumoto Endo. I actually kind of wanted to get into this, and you may not have wanted to get into it, but there's a bit of a backstory there. There's quite a backstory, actually, but I'll try to keep it super short. One of the things that characterized Killer Bug was the artwork. Am I allowed to go here? Yeah. Okay, so Killer Bug, basically, I don't know the chronology of this, so I don't know who said what, when, and how. I don't know who shot who in the what now. But let me just back up and say one thing. I honestly feel that Kazumoto Endo has a great sense of humor. He really does. He's one of the funniest persons you could possibly meet. At the core, he's intelligent and he's funny. And I don't mean just funny like a comedian funny. He just has a damn great sense of humor. He really does. Which, by the way, I tend to associate with a certain level of intelligence. And that's just me. Take that for what it's worth. Smoke, put that in your pipe and smoke it. All right. All right. So, okay. So here's Endo in an interview. Maybe he had encountered an interview with Masami Akita of Merzbow. Now, Merzbow, we've mentioned in the past, he's the noise god. He's the most famous noise person in the planet, in the universe. And he is currently associated mostly, or is attempting to associate himself with noise and animal rights. Animal rights. But before he was associated with noise and animal rights, Merzbow was noted for being associated with noise and general rights, especially general. And he didn't come at this from some, stupid, dumbass perspective. Merzbow came at this from an intellectual side. He published books, he researched his shit, and he took it very seriously. It wasn't just some bullshit. He associated it very much with, I don't want to say he necessarily associated it with noise, Merzbow, maybe, but obviously a lot of his cover art and the titles and so on. But the point is that, in an interview, Merzbow made the statement that it's okay, like if you're going to do this, if you're going to throw on some imagery that is associated with these themes, then certainly, without question, you need to have a knowledge of what you're doing. You can't just throw on this kind of imagery just to throw it on. That's stupid. You need to have the depth, the knowledge, and if you don't do it. Don't do it because it's stupid. Kazumoto Endo, in his Killer Bug days, says, as soon as I read this, I decided that every single album is going to have imagery on it. Because screw this guy. Who's he to say who we can and can't, and what we can and can't put on our album covers? And he went further, right? So like there was this album on a label. It was like basically a major noise label called Self-Abuse. It's a great label and a great name of a label. They put out an album called Music Should Hurt. Music should hurt, ladies and gentlemen. Music should hurt. And around the start of the album, maybe the first or the second, maybe not the first, the second or third artist on the album was Merzbow. And then down a little bit further down was Killer Bug. The title of the Killer Bug track was Brain Police Besieged Parkside Corp, which was in fact like the address of Merzbow. And I'm pretty sure the Brain Police was a reference to those statements that Merzbow had made about what you can and can't do. So, so Kazumoto Endo, maybe he's joking, But that's clearly a political statement. He is taking exception to the brain policing, and then looking at, how people want to reinvent themselves. Obviously, he objected to that. And I respect that as an artistic decision. From then on, I decided that every album cover was going to have imagery because this asshole says I can't. Well, and not to say he's an asshole, he's a genius, and I love Merzbow forever. And he is the god of all noise. But, Endo's also a god, to be honest. And so I honestly feel that is part of precipitating the shift. When Endo got to a point where he felt that this kind of attitude was no longer needed, he's like, okay, I've got this. I said what I had to say. I threw on, 8 or 9 albums or whatever. It wasn't so many. Killer Bug existed for basically a couple of years, actually. I've said what I have to say. Screw this guy who says I can't say it. And I'm done. And now what I'm going to do? And at that time, he actually took a kind of survey. He actually did this. I think it was he was just asking people, I think, in email and so on. Because, by the way, Kazumoto Endo, being that he has a background in IT, I think he went to Waseda, by the way, Waseda University. Smart guy, super smart. By the way, if you're a politician in Japan like Abe or whatever, you probably went to Waseda, and so did Endo. So these are smart freaking people.
No, Abe didn't. He went to
the other one, Koizumi, went to Waseda. Anyway, who gives a shizer? Who cares? The point is. I don't know what the point is, but okay. So I feel that, he got to the point where he's like, he's surveying people. How do you honestly feel about this name, Killer Bug? And as soon as he said that, I thought, okay, I'm gonna mock this name relentlessly. And it just so happened that we were corresponding at this time by email. And so I wrote a review of one of his albums, in which I just mocked the name, Killer Bug. I always have to repeat that name to myself before I actually review it. Killer Bug. Yeah. But it was only based on his, the fact that he seemed insecure with the name. That's why I felt that would be, that's fair game to mock the name, because already he feels the name isn't doing it for him. So I just would push it further. He took that review and he put that at the top of his webpage. It was the only review he had posted on his website. It was this very short review of this album called Your Wife Is Mine, of course, with the bondage artwork, presumably of someone's wife. But I felt that, these events transpired to persuade him that maybe it's time to move on from Killer Bug, and I'm going to be Kazumoto Endo. So, and that's cool. Very cool, and I don't, there could be other reasons why he decided to move on, but I honestly feel that all of these elements combined, insecurity about the name he had chosen, the humorous / shall we say satirical / politically motivated / aggressively angry anti-Merzbow, brain police stance about what we can and can't do with our feelings. He's like, okay, I've done that. I'm going to move on. I still want to make noise, but I'm not going to do it with Killer Bug. I'm going to do it on something else. And I guess he just decided to go with his own name. But I don't know. Maybe I'm psychoanalyzing this guy too much. But
you think he was actually angry at Merzbow, or was he just kind of messing?
I think there's more, like noise is already really small. People still, basically everyone, if everyone doesn't know everyone, then everyone knows every other person in noise, even now, And we're talking about the mid-90s, in Japan, in Tokyo. And Merzbow at that time was still curating and doing shows and stuff. I mean, he was promoting shows and stuff like that. So, I mean, undoubtedly, these people would have known each other, if not really well, then fairly well. It must have been a really small community of of individuals who, and they are individuals, and they are quite different. All of these guys were very different, and you know, being the artistically inclined, they obviously would probably, I don't know, don't want to say anything about artistically inclined people, but most of them tend to have fairly strong opinions one way or another, even if they refuse to express them in words. You know, the expression comes in. So it's very probable it is, you know, Endo is also, this is a stupid story that I don't even feel like I should bring up, but like, but it's kind of funny. So Endo was noted at the time, maybe he was captured by a particular Merzbow album at the time when Merzbow was transitioning from more acoustic to more harsh noise, and it was in that middle point there that one particular album captured Endo, and I guess Endo decided that he wanted to figure out how Merzbow does it, so he started photographing Merzbow's sets. In other words, his gear, which is kind of like, it's kind of rude to do that from a certain point of view, I guess. And apparently Merzbow really didn't appreciate that. So there might have been other reasons for this rivalry, so to speak, you know. And then sorry, not Merzbow, Endo came up with this line. So like, so then what prompted you to want to do noise? Well, I heard this stuff and it just wasn't doing it for me. And I felt that I could do better. I felt that I could do better. And honestly, from a certain point of view, he did do better. He did a lot better. I mean, I'm not going to say that he displaced Merzbow. I think Merzbow at his peak of harsh noise is as untouchable as Endo at his peak, or maybe even beyond. It's different noise for different boys, different strokes for different folks, you know, different slaps for different chaps.
But Merzbow has put out a lot more than Endo, right?
Just wait, it's almost ridiculous. Like Endo's like has this tiny discography. But like when you listen, and you know, I've been blabbering on about all this backstory, and it's kind of like, you know, bitchy shit about, you know, who shot who and the what now, when we should be just talking about the noise. But like the moment you listen to While You Were Out, like even the first 10 seconds, you're like, it's clear that a huge amount of effort and time went into that. I mean, he wasn't just pissing around. He didn't just improv this on the spot. A lot of time and effort went into perfecting this. It's so clear that this is a composed album. Actually, it's not really an album. It's actually a compilation of compiled tracks spanning a certain number of years, including new stuff. So maybe not dissimilar when I talked about Incapacitance, No Progress. It's not all new material. It's kind of a representation of where he's been the last few years. So that's what it is. So yeah, I don't know where I've been going, but I mean, basically it was, I suppose to say that he, you know, clearly was, you know, I don't know.
Let's play a track. We'll play that opening track you were just talking about.
The opening track?
Yeah, play a bit of it.
Yeah, okay. Or how about, just for fun, let's go to the second track. So there's it starts off with the title track, which is pretty cool. And is probably, from some person's opinions, one of the better tracks on the disc. But to get a sense of maybe the I don't know.
Well, you do want to focus on some of his kind of playfulness and joke.
Yeah, the playfulness. Yeah, well, I mean, it comes up in all the tracks, really. So I mean, I don't know why.
Okay. So you're saying track 2, Itabashi Girl.
Itabashi Girl, yeah.
All right. Just a moment. All right, so we're going to listen to a bit of track 2, Itabashi Girl. Yeah, what did you want to say about this, Soggy?
Okay, well, just before we get into it, you know, it's worth kind of considering the album itself. Again, this album was not conceived specifically as an album. It was Why would I say that? Well, what I mean to say is it compiled a lot of tracks that were released on compilations and 7-inch splits, which are kind of a staple in noise and a lot of experimental music. But it's worth just looking at the track titles. And I'm sorry I don't have these up for you, but you probably can't read that. Doesn't really matter. Just hear what I got to say. So, okay, we have Itabashi Girl. Itabashi is a place in Tokyo, kind of fashionable. And assuming Endo actually went to Waseda, it's kind of in that area of where he kind of went to university. It's a nice area. Yeah. So I don't know who this Itabashi Girl is. It could be, the Itabashi Girl could be the girl in the sample, which is like a pop group that had released a song just a little bit earlier, just before this album was released, a band called Morning Musume, like a pop group, an all-girl pop group. So maybe one of those girls is the Itabashi Girl. Anyway, Itabashi is a place in Tokyo. All right, so that's track 2. Track 3 is Shinjuku Khaki Pants. Now, Shinjuku is basically, the center of Tokyo. Well, if it's not Tokyo itself, Shinjuku is the major center. You are free to speculate on what the khaki pants refers to.
Khaki.
Track 5, last train to Nishi Funabashi. Now, was Endo living in Nishi Funabashi at that point? Or was Kenny Sanderson a facial mess?
Which is in Chiba, which is near you, right?
Well, it's the south part of Chiba, but anyway. But I think Nishi Funabashi kind of hooks up to, kind of Takanababa, Waseda. Okay. Track 6, Night Falls on Ikebukuro. Ikebukuro, another major center, not too far from Itabashi. It's one express stop or two from Shinjuku. That's where we used to hang out because we kind of lived out in the northwest side of Tokyo. Is Ikebukuro. Shinjuku is a bit further for us. So
yeah.
Ikebukuro. If you're living in Nerima,
yeah,
that was the place.
Ikibu. We used to go into Ikibu.
That was Ikibu, yeah. Track 8, Boom Boom Roppongi. Now, if you don't know what Roppongi is, it's the city that never sleeps. I mean, maybe Tokyo is the city that never sleeps, but the part of Tokyo that never freaking sleeps is Roppongi, even though I think for a while they had these laws that places had to shut down by 2 a.m. But anyway, if any place never slept, it was probably Roppongi, and what was going on in Roppongi was a lot about boom, boom, boom. So yeah, the kind of clubbing and all kinds of crazy shit kind of center. Roppongi. So this is clearly while you were out. I don't know where you were out in, but maybe you were out in Itabashi, Shinjuku, Nishi Funabashi, Ikebukuro, Roppongi, or some other place. But if someone's getting up to all kinds of no good, it's an ode to Tokyo. That's what he's doing. That's all he's doing. As far as I know, Endo may actually hail from Chiba, oddly enough. I mean, I know in his Killer Bug days, his address was Chiba, not far from Mikawa, actually, oddly enough. But this album totally is a total ode to Tokyo, to whatever, Shinjuku, Roppongi, Ikebukuro, and all that shit. And from a certain point of view, such as a gaijin foreigner point of view, you could call it an ode to Japan itself, because that's basically what a lot of people imagine when they imagine Japan. They imagine that kind of, the city, the city. That's what people imagine. I mean, that's just, it's a major thing. So here's this guy that's composed this album all about Tokyo. And okay, let's crank on that Itabashi Girl. Who obviously captured Endo's attention at some point. Don't know what she was doing, but hey.
All right, let's go for it.
So there you go. That's the Itabashi Girl. What to say about that particular track aside from it's about Itabashi, it's about a girl in Itabashi, possibly a member of Morning Musume.
So I didn't know until you said it that sample he uses is from Morning Musume, right?
Yeah, actually, I didn't know that either. To be honest, I just found that online.
Oh, really?
I don't know shit about Japanese pop music. I don't know. I mean, I know Kazumoto Endo, and I honestly didn't even know that until quite recently. So I mean, who cares? Who cares really? It's honestly not important to me. Maybe it's important to him. Maybe Morning Musume is a big part of Endo's life, but probably not. It was probably just a big hit at that time because the track had just been released, and if it was on a major label, it would have been spammed at everyone in the malls and everywhere if it was on a major label. So it couldn't help but be a hit. It was like a manufactured hit, right?
Well, that's so what I thought it was.
Yeah,
I thought it was just like some kind of background shopping music. I thought, I thought this song is him commenting just on the shopping culture of young girls in Tokyo. That's what I thought. Young women, I should say.
That could be a perfectly valid interpretation from a dude's perspective. Who knows, right?
But before you did play the cut from what, like it is an actual sample from Morning Musume, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm guessing without permission, probably. You think?
Probably. I don't know. Who knows? Probably not. Yeah. So, which might limit the ability of the album to kind of get out there, so to speak. But no, like we know what happened when Jojo Hiroshige of Hydro Kaiden tried to put out Slap Happy Humphrey. It got slapped down because they were covering Morita Doji, and although a lot of them were like kind of harsh noise covers, I guess they were just too close to the 70s singer of Morita Doji to be acceptable for whatever lawyer. Okay, so yeah, but what I think comes clear, and looking at for example, the artwork and listening to that first track, which starts in like basically it's a club-friendly song, which slowly gets destroyed and ripped up, and basically the rest of that song is just pure harsh noise, actually, right? So that kind of characterizes the album in a way and seems to reflect what I would say is the appeal. Now, when I say the appeal, I'm basing this not on my own opinion as a noise person, but just as a person who was going to do this episode with Dave on Blown Speakers, this episode of Blown Speakers, and thinking, okay, I need to find out what people have to say about the album, and just going onto YouTube and just reading tons of comments. And I was just kind of struck by the number of people who were like, yeah, I didn't realize noise could have a sense of humor, or I didn't think I would like noise, but this appeals to me. So I'm kind of getting that for a lot of people, and this album's been going strong for over 20 years now. Possibly it's been a kind of a gateway album for a lot of people to get into noise, right? The humor of it, the pop elements of it, and all the rest of it. That obviously wasn't how I got into it, but I will say humor is a gateway. Humor can be a gateway for a lot of people because humor humanizes. That's what it does. It humanizes.
Well, like the album cover, right? So we've said, so you and I have both said maybe I haven't said yet, but yeah, I dig the album cover, right? I mean, it's when you first look at it, it's funny.
I've not actually read or heard a single person who's said anything other than this is the best album cover ever.
Okay. but was there a noise contingent? Well, you say it's controversial for there to be humor in noise, where this is like right on the album cover. I mean, he's acting kind of goofy, right? So
I'd like to kind of comment on that humor and noise thing that you mentioned. Before I do that, I'm gonna get myself another drink here, which I've got this is nice and cold. Yeah. All right.
All right.
So hold on, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Beautiful. Oh yeah, this stuff is cheap shit, but it's pretty good. Okay. You know, in my other life, I only drink Belgian beers. God damn it! But in this life, apparently not. Okay, so where was I? Not drinking Belgian beers. Yeah.
Humor in noise.
Yeah, but it was just before that. It was commenting on the album cover itself. Okay, so, you know, I don't necessarily, okay, I mean, we can talk about humor and noise, but you know, other things need to be talked about, which I've completely forgotten what those things were. But it was before I got to the whole idea of the humor of it. What
Well,
did I want to say?
For me, the album cover kind of like goes with the music, right? Especially the first track. I think there's some kind of rocking noise, or maybe I've imposed that in there, but I could picture
you can kind of see it.
I could picture him just swinging away on this thing, like throughout, the first few minutes of the album. And to me,
it's just kind of the crazy shit that he does while you are out.
Yeah.
That's just how I roll.
Yeah.
You don't know what kind of crazy shit I get up to.
Yeah.
I fucking get onto the goddamn playground and I'm like on that goddamn panda. And that's just the start. You don't even know what kind of crazy shit I get up to. Yeah.
Yeah, the cover helps
and
me.
By the way, check out that t-shirt, Armenia.
Yeah.
If you know the band Armenia.
They're
They're a harsh noise artist based in Ecuador at a time when, Ecuador, harsh noise, nobody knew anything about any harsh noise coming from Ecuador, but they didn't know Armenia. And Armenia knew harsh noise, and he's continuing to this day, still doing his shit. He's currently a member of Macronympha, oddly enough. Yeah. Endo, I believe, I don't know if he went to Ecuador, but I think he was in Peru. He went down to Bolivia because I think he was really he studied Bolivian music.
I read that, he studied like traditional Bolivian music.
And all that kind of shit. So he was down there in South America and shit. So possibly he might be one of the few noise people I know. I know who's actually met Mr. Armenia. Who's quite a character in and of himself, and Armenia's done like some really great stuff. And sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here talking about Armenia now. But anyway, he's got the T-shirt, so there you go. Yeah.
Well, it's nice to picture him rocking away on this thing when you're listening to the music.
Exactly.
And as you've said, kind of a tribute to Tokyo. I mean, I'm sure this park is probably somewhere in Tokyo. I mean, they have these little parks everywhere with like goofy little things for kids to bounce on. So,
yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm still trying to remember because I really was going to go off on this little tangent, related to, shall we say, the whole subject of the cover art. I didn't really want to get into the whole humor thing. I had this other thing I wanted to say before I got into the whole humor, but I just can't remember what it was.
Why don't you hold that thought for a second? Because it's good. It's good time for a break. Okay, one question we wanted to circle back around to, because I don't know the details of it, but you said that humor in noise is controversial. Okay.
Sure.
So what are the different camps?
I don't know that there are camps, so to speak. It's just I think basically the whole issue with humor is really from a certain point of view, it can be seen to kind of degrade degrade it to an extent. It lowers it down a peg, for a lot of people. As if, it can't stand on its own. It's got to just be for fucking laughs. It's a fucking joke and all the rest of it. I will say this, and I've repeated this and I've written this ad absurdum, which is never once in my life has anyone said to me, hey man, check out this album. Hey Soggy, check out this album. It's really funny. No one's ever said that. Not one person. They want me to listen to it because it's good shit. Now people will often say, yeah, check this out. It's fucking hilarious, but they'll never say, oh, you're going to love this, or it's great, or it's awesome. They'll say it's hilarious. It's just it's something to laugh at. Right. So that's the problem for a lot of people. They don't want to be firstly something to laugh at. It could be, everyone has a sense of humor, but the sense of humor, may be part and parcel of it, and it may even be what drives it. But, it can still be a thing that can be felt to degrade it to an extent, like making a mockery, and, because it just doesn't have what it takes. And I would just say that, well, first of all, nobody thinks like that, or most people don't think like that, or a lot of people don't think like that. People want the good shit, first of all. Okay, but that said, I can look back at myself as a teenager. It was basically like that. When I first heard of Japanese noise, it was stuff like, violent onsen geisha and gay and all that funny shit that first turned me on to this stuff, the Hanatarashi. Oh, they did this crazy shit. All their album titles are hilarious. They're so funny. But you see, what they're doing is essentially they're shitting on convention. That's what they're doing. And when you shit on convention, whether you're doing it as a political move or to attack Merzbow's statement about you should only use image imagery if you know something about it. Whatever your point of view on that, when you're shitting on the convention, the first response that people will have is to laugh, because that's what humor does. It takes a convention, it takes an idea, and it twists it. And that's what's funny. That's what makes it funny. That's it. It's only the humor. Well, that's not the only thing that makes it funny. If you're Freud, he actually said that humor is a form of aggression. Yeah, that's right. If you're a humorist, you're an aggressive psychopath that's attacking people. So I don't know. But, okay, let's just back up a little bit. Okay, let's just leave the humor for a moment. And let's go back to one of the earliest noisy experimental artists, or maybe harsh noise pioneer, the New Blockaders. You know these guys, Dave? The New Blockaders?
The New Blockaders. I've heard you talk about them.
Yeah. Well,
so I'm sure I've heard them, but yeah, can you
I'm a great admirer of
refresh my memory and enlighten our viewers?
All right. Well, the New Blockaders would be associated, tightly with the phrase, we reject it. We reject it. What do we reject? We reject your shit. To the point where you could expand the phrase to a particular album that came out at a certain period, which was entitled, Even Anti-Art is Art. That is why we reject it. Now, okay, the first thing you do when you read that is you laugh. It's funny as fucking hell. Come on. It's shitting on convention. That's what it's doing. It's shitting on convention. Shitting on the convention. That's what it's doing. So of course you're inclined to laugh. Now, you can leave it at that. You can just say, okay, they've shit on convention, next. Or you can try to wrap your head around these ideas a little bit. I'm going to move from the New Blockaders for a moment to a dearly departed noise pervert. And I use the word pervert, in the most lovable and loving way. Not lovable, hateable maybe, loving way. Keith. Unfortunately passed away very recently, just a couple of years ago, of cancer. So that's very sad. But his legacy, part of his legacy is really pushing the total. Now, the first thing you do when you read that is you laugh. You fucking laugh, because that's some funny shit. Now, does that detract from the sick and twistedness of it? Of course not. Now, from a certain point of view, having a cavalier attitude about things that are highly disturbing, and I can honestly say, Dave, that a lot of the themes that Mr. Brewer deals with, you would probably find highly disturbing. Most people would. Possibly, possibly not. Maybe everyone loves that shit on a certain level. But, you know, it is funny because it takes a convention and it twists it. It's sick and it's twisted and it's funny as fuck at a certain point, from a certain point of view. You don't need someone to come up to you and say, hey, I'm telling you a joke, for it to be funny or for it to be ironic. You know? So irony, humor, these things operate on so many levels. And I don't even pretend to understand. If you're Freud, he feels it's aggression and hurting people to make a joke. That's the only thing that a joke is to hurt people. Okay, Freud. But hey, so on some level, you know, to get the joke is to understand the sick and twistedness of this ridiculousness of what? Well, what? Is noise funny? I don't know. Life is funny. Life is ridiculous and life is twisted. And noise, it's just amplifying that. That's what noise does. It amplifies. Plug it in, it amplifies up to 11. Yeah. That's what noise does. That's all. So that's my opinion about humor, you know.
I think I've always thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah, hell yeah, of course.
I mean, okay, Masana coming on stage for like 4 seconds, and like that's his whole performance. I mean, that's funny, you know.
Of course it is. Yeah, you know. So, still at the same time, like, you know, you're not. No one's going to pick up 30 Masana CDs like me just because the shit is funny. They're going to pick it up because the shit is shit. It's the shit. You know, it blows your ass away. And yeah, possibly the gateway. The gateway is the humor, because again, humor humanizes. Whether your name is or Kazumoto Endo or what was that guy's name?
Masana.
Masana, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yamazaki. Mr. Yamazaki.
I mean,
so,
the incapacitants are funny.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, you know, incapacitants. Here are my liner notes for my while you are out. You know, so incapacitants while you were out was no progress. It was like 8 pages of, you know, him just going off about his favorite places to get shit-faced with a bit of comment about pro wrestling. You know, these people have a sense of humor. And if you don't, sorry, you know, don't want to be you. That's all I gotta say. But you know, it certainly, in my mind, does not detract from A, the awesomeness of the sound, B, the sick and twistedness of what people are trying to say. I mean, you know, humor can be grim, it can be brutal. A person laughing is not always funny. The opposite is often the case. And when you're working in between those lines, that tension between what may or may not be considered funny is funny itself and interesting and is art.
So where on this album, other than the cover, what I was going to say about the cover, it's funny when you first see it. But then it just,
that's one reaction.
Then it just becomes awesome. And it just,
now it just struck me what I wanted to say.
All right.
Which was this, sorry.
All right.
My apologies. Okay. This is the thing that I wanted to say at the beginning, which is this.
About the vast
majority of album covers in the milieu of experimental, industrial, whatever, tend to be either abstract imagery and or something grim or brutal or politically connected or something like that.
I mean, it's like heavy metal in a way, like, you know, extreme metal wants to have kind of shocking and disturbing album covers.
Yeah, I mean, no, but I would say the vast majority. Okay, let me just. I'm just grabbing to my right. Tell me if these are disturbing for you.
Let me. Okay, so not always.
These are all the albums that are immediately to my right. So are you seeing disturbing images? No, what you're seeing is a lot of abstract imagery, and you're not seeing any people on the cover, homeboy. You're not seeing any of that. Are you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe you're seeing some. Well, that's worse, but okay. And I can go on and on. I can show you album after album after album, and all of these are kick-ass. Yeah, one might be disturbing. Yeah. But what you're not seeing on all of those albums, which I've just randomly pulled, and I think is a reasonable sample of, you know, noise that people are listening to, is you're not seeing any motherfuckers on the cover. You're not seeing anything that's anything related to the person's personal, immediate experience in the past, present, future. Maybe they made that. Maybe they drew it. You know, Hum of the Druid. You know, he draws all his art and it's all awesome. And he's an amazing sound artist too. But you know, he's not going to stick his ass or face on the album cover. But the funny thing is, Incapacitants, just a second. Hold that thought. I'll be back. Yeah, just keep it going for a second while I try and find the album in question. God damn it. Here it is. Okay. Now, there are a couple of albums that are considered iconic in noise. One is While You Were Out. And here's another one. Now, what do you see in that picture?
Yeah, I see the
Incapacitants
having tea, having coffee.
Yeah. No, they're not. They're fucking drinking sake in a bar, man. Well, okay. Or maybe a sushi or a ramen shop.
Okay, now I see the little, yeah, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. The point is, that's what people feel, that's what people humanize with, you know, that's what connects people, you know. So, you know, you can have the most awesome artwork in the world, but at the end of the day, people connect with people, you know. And so here's Kazumoto Endo, and here's Incapacitants, and that's what, you know, these are two of the greatest covers ever made, right? And what's the thing in common? Well, it's not a fucking dead body, although even then, like for example, Macro Nympha, their greatest album cover was Joe Romer's dad on life support. But the thing is, you see, that's real. That's real shit. And whatever you want to say about this, that's real shit. That's real shit. I don't know what this is. You know, this is a great album cover too, right here. Who's this? Who's these guys? This was Hockey. Fucking great album. You know, but you're not going to quite feel that on the same level, right? That's the point. So that's the thing. So there might be a humor or not, but what it is it's actually speaking to people because they're like, yeah, you put your ass on the cover.
So he's almost even taking that one step further than the Incapacitants by using his real name on the cover. You know, in this.
And I mean, it's not. I mean, he's kind of daring you to say, you know, what are you going to think about this person? What is, or you know, I don't know. There's so many ways you can read that. Actually, I read another interesting interpretation. It was maybe just a YouTube commentator about, you know, it's kind of the zeitgeist, you know, of people disenfranchised. I don't know. This dude made this whole political statement. Thank you, person on YouTube, for making that comment. That was an interesting comment, and I don't want to destroy your comment, which is better than what I can try to destroy in my 5 words.
You mean like he's so disenfranchised that he's just playing on the playground,
or you know, disconnected from the society or whatever the hell, with Armenia t-shirt and a playground, fucking riding a goddamn panda. I don't know. You know, I mean, but the thing is, see, that kind of shit somehow, you know, there's one thing that everyone will agree on about Kazumoto Endo. Some people don't like Cut Up Noise. They like other shit. They like this guy right here, which is a much more traditional album cover. Unsustainable Social Condition. This is amazing noise. It's pure. It's harsh.
So what?
Yeah.
Can you read it? Or can you tell us? Well, can you just tell us?
Unsustainable Social Condition. That's the name of the project. It's a great album, but you know, this is not the cut up shit. It's, well, he might have cut it up too, but you know, it's more pure, harsh, you know, heavy awesomeness. And a lot of people prefer when they say, they're like, you know what, yes, screw that cut up stuff because it's kind of, it's a bit contrived or something like that, right? But anyway, you know, so people, you know, whether you're a noise person or you're not a noise person, you might not necessarily say, you know, Kazumoto Endo is your best guy ever, but no one's going to deny that if you like, or if you're going to suggest that cut up noise, so it's a genre basically, cut up noise or hard pan noise or something like that. No one will deny that that is the benchmark, or possibly the benchmark in the whole field of that, and which has been incredibly influential. And you know, to the point where I have been putting forth in recent days, you know, that, you know, I actually contacted the Oxford English Dictionary and Webster's to ask them to include the word endocore. I think that should be a new part of our lexicon, endocore. If you're doing harsh noise that's cut up, you know, with extreme contrast, silence and dynamic movement and all the rest of it, that's endocore, my friend. And yes, before Endo, there were people doing that, but they simply didn't do it to that, you know, incredibly precisely, perfectly composed level that Endo did. And the funny thing is, after he did it, he did another album called Brick and Mortar, which was in the vein, but kind of more so, but without a lot of the pop stuff. So it was kind of stripped back into just the pure harsh and the extreme contrast. So taking it to the next level in that capacity, but pulling back all those little pop ins, you know. And then subsequently he went into like a computer digital, really more digital focus for a little while. Then he seemed to kind of get disillusioned with that. And since then, for the last 10 years, it's been all pure improv. He does no, it's none of this composed stuff, cut up stuff. He's like, no, he makes his own instruments and he's just doing it all live and in your face. He's got shitloads of gear, but it's like, he's like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just gonna, I honestly think Endo's project is to reproduce this album live. That's what I think he wants to do. This level, by just creating, lots of gear, and he's got his original, he's got his spring action metal box thing that he's been. I jokingly call it the killer bug because it has the word killer bug, like welded to it. Maybe he took that killer bug off of it. I don't know, but yeah. So I don't know where I was going with this, but I think I've gone with it.
Soggy,
Yes.
while we're looking at the track listing, so when you talk about like humor on the album,
Yes,
what exactly are you talking about? I mean, so Itabashi Girl, we see that funny contrast between the pop song and the noise, but like what other moments on the album do you think are funny?
I see. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say I don't want to say necessarily that this is funny. I mean, when you see the title, the first thing you do is you laugh, right? When you see the track titles, you laugh. Come on. Especially if you're living in Japan, you laugh. Itabashi Girl, Shinjuku Kaki Pants. I think I showed that album to you the first time, and we had a big laugh about that track title, especially. I think that was connected with a certain band that we had seen. I don't think we want to get into that right now. But anyways, if you remember that band, On Off. Okay.
Drawing a blank.
I think they played with Masana. Anyway, just I don't know. Everything about it just makes me laugh on some level. But yeah, I mean, that's not what I listen to it. I don't listen to it going, hee, 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 hee. I just listen to it because it's awesome, So whatever. I mean, that the humor is there, and that kind of makes it much more accessible. It humanizes it. It brings people into the shit. I don't know if people will stick around if they go from While You Were Out to Brick and Mortar to his subsequent stuff. They might say, well, that's not what I came to Noise for. And people might just, go back to whatever shit they were listening to before. So, and that's fine, whatever, whatever floats your boat. So, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if I've really answered anything you've had.
Okay. So one thing I haven't asked you directly yet, right? So I asked you when you first started listening to Killer Bug, but I'm interested in when you first heard this album, right? Because you moved to Japan in the spring of '99, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I don't know, whenever you got your hands on this, you must have been surprised by the cover. And how did you feel when you first listened to the album?
Well, I was totally blown away. I mean, to be honest, as mentioned, this album is, technically there are maybe 2 new tracks, but actually maybe 3. Track number 5, Last Train to Nishi Funabashi, is kind of, I think, intentionally a centerpiece. He put it in, and it's just like this super harsh, dynamic, no bullshit, none of this pop crap. He's just doing the straight. This is the shit that I can do, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I'm all about now. I'm not fucking around. So, but a lot of this stuff had previously been released. But, so I had a lot of the stuff, I had the compilations, I had maybe the split 7-inch with certain artists. But, it was still one of those things like I had probably just gotten into Japan, right? And I was just kind of getting my Japan legs, so to speak. And then I guess Kenny Sanderson, who you might know, Facial Mess, and currently has a new project an amazing project called Like Weeds, which is just, Like Weeds is just fucking awesome. It's fucking awesome, but it's totally not like Facial Mesh. Facial Mesh is a bit closer to Killer Bug or Kazumoto Endo. Anyways, I digress. But it's like I was just kind of walking along, possibly going to some noise show, and Kenny's like, "Yeah, so did you know like Killer Bug has Kazumoto Endo has an album out?" And I'm like, "Huh? What the fuck?" Because there was no full-length CD release from Kazumoto Endo, so this was actually his CD debut, right? There were a couple tapes, I think, or not, or maybe not. Maybe that was actually the first full length actually by the project after all these compilation and split appearances. So I was like, what? Nobody told me that he had a full length release. So the first thing I did, I don't remember if someone gave me a copy or if I bought a copy, but it doesn't really matter. I was like super stoked about this album that I hadn't known existed. And of course, as soon as I played it, I was like, God damn, this is even better than I thought. And I thought I had high expectations, but it killed those. It was just so good. I probably played it a million times. I don't know, but it was just such a kick-ass album. Anyway, that was kind of my first experience with it, so to speak. So yeah.
And probably sometime that year, you were able to see him live for the first time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, it was. I don't remember.
Well, anyways, your memories in general of seeing him live.
Well, because you see, he had retired Killer Bug.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when he became Kazumoto Endo, he had this great CD release. But I don't remember if he did any of his like analog, because his performances were analog, right? You might say, well, this is digital and all done on a laptop or whatever, or a computer. But his performances were straight analog sessions, live and in your face, lots of pedals and shit going on. And I'm not sure, I don't recall if I had actually seen that. It might be that he had officially hung up the Killer Bug, the signature piece of equipment gear. So it's possible that in the subsequent performances that I saw, it was all laptop. And actually, to be honest, it just wasn't as good as that other stuff. So they may have been that somehow the live incarnation of Kazumoto Endo wasn't as impressive as the on-record incarnation. But that would change when I say it was kind of like, I guess, Kenny, myself kind of conspired to try to get Killer Bug to return, and he did. So, but yeah, so I think the first performances with Endo were not. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I played with him. We did like a collaboration, and I thought it was pretty good, And also Endo joined up with a lot of the, I guess, the acoustic events. Like we had something called the Tokyo Orthodox Noise Choir, and he contributed vocals for that. And we did like an all acoustic set using just styrofoam and mirrors. And Endo was in that, and Kenny Facial Mesh was in that when he smashed the mirror and started doing weird things with his arm. There was blood everywhere. Yeah, so broken mirrors, styrofoam, screeching noise, Timmy Swara, Keiko holding her ears because the sound was ridiculously, screechingly harsh. Just acoustic with no amplification. And Endo was in all of that shit. So he was always there. But I honestly felt that, you know, those performances were all very, very interesting. And he was always trying something different. And none of it was that kind of harsh shit that I wanted him to go back to and just, you know, give us that killer bug, that really harsh stuff again. So what he did, he came back to that finally, but that's quite a more recent thing for him, to be honest. So.
But you rate this particular album up there with Incapacitance and Merzbow as just like one of the all-time classic noise albums, right?
Kind of like the Holy Trinity, right? So we've got if you're into, it depends what, there's a lot of different noise. There's a lot of different noise, you know. But if you're into the more dynamic and harsh stuff, While You Were Out is one of them. It's part of the Holy Trinity. That one and just hold on a second. See if I can find it. Oh man, yeah, there you go. Merzbow, Noise Embryo, and what a name, Noise Embryo. Come on, man. All right. And well, where the hell's that pain jerk? God damn it. I'll never find it. Oh, wait.
Well, I think you've answered my question though, Soggy. I think what you're trying to say.
I've got to do this. I've got to do this because it's, you know, it makes me laugh, just the idea of doing it. Okay.
All right.
So this is the Holy fucking Trinity right here, right? Merzbow, Noise Embryo, Pain Jerk, Gallon Gravy, and Kazumoto Endo, While You're Out. This is the shit. And I can basically, this is like my desert island trio right there. And after that, everyone else can go take a flying fucking leap. Of course, I need my incapacitance, so, you know. But like, as far as if you want dynamic, structured, composed noise that, you know, or not, however you want to interpret that, that's the shit right there. And so, yes, Endo, While You Are Out is right in there with that. And yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, within, you know, the shit is unbeatable, unstoppable. And there's a lot of other unbeatable, unstoppable shit now at this point. Whether your name is whatever, Sickness or unsustainable social fucking condition or yeah.
All right. Well,
Ghosted or whatever. All right. So yeah, we got shitloads of shit, but you know, but that's the Holy Trinity. All right. Next question.
Well, I think we're good. Yeah, so I want to go out with another track. So do you have a track in mind you'd like to play on the way out? I'll let you think about that. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is I just want to say one thing, which is, you know, this is such a travesty. It's just deplorable to you know, Kazumoto Endo, this is hard panned noise. To hear this, number one, in mono, you're not actually hearing anything like the song or the album. So all I gotta say is, if you're even listening to this right now, screw it. Just go right on to the actual, you know, the YouTube link and listen to the actual album, because it's totally different if you're going to listen to it properly. To be honest, YouTube is shite. It sounds like shit. You got to listen to the goddamn album, you know, in all its gorgeous, blissful, crystalline perfection. And, you know, it is, you know, just even the concept of playing back this crap, it seems like a waste of time, your time, my time, everyone's time. Nevertheless, because this is the format of the show, and the fact that we've decided that we're going to go out on an album, not on an album, but on a track from the album in question, even though this is a total travesty, god damn it, even though it's a travesty, nevertheless, this is by collective agreement, you see, because I think my choice here was the 5th track, which was not one of the collected compilation tracks, but was recorded presumably for this album, Last Train to Nishi Funabashi, but I can swear it was released somewhere else. But anyway, but I can't find it on Discogs. So Discogs knows all. So Last Train to Nishi Funabashi would have been my choice. But here's Dave, your fellow host here, and he says to me, you know what? That sound, that metallic, that sounds like the cover. And now, I don't know, he's definitely not booming and Roppongi in that picture, but close enough. So that's the choice by collective mutual agreement. This will be the closing ditty. Boom, boom, Roppongi. The city that truly only goes.
And it's not the only moment on the album I imagine him, you know, going nuts on the panda. But yeah, I think you'll see what I mean when I start the track.
Never forgetting, this is a total travesty. Sounds nothing like this, with this monophonic garbage crap filtered through the blah blah blah. It's total shit. But hey, whatever.
Yeah, buy the album and play it on a good system.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, Soggy, thank you for joining us. That has been episode 45 of Blown Speakers, Kazumoto Endo's noise classic While You Were Out. Right? All right. Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Soggy. And let's listen to Kazumoto go nuts on his panda here. What do you think?